You are listening to the Movie Clubhouse Podcast. Tune in multiple times a week for brand new reviews. Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Movie Clubhouse Podcast. The perfect place to be if you love movies and TV. That slogan is so great, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today, we hope you are all doing great at first. If there are anything you want to discuss with us at the Movie Clubhouse, feel free to reach out at us or mail in the show notes or at any of our social platforms. For example, we are on YouTube, Instagram, as well as X, previously Twitter. So if you want us to discuss anything or have any questions, absolutely feel free to reach out to us. We will do our best to answer everyone. But today, we're going to talk about a movie, a very interesting film that is nothing else than Scrapper. The feature debut from Charlotte Regan is finally here. We have seen it and are about to give you our concise review. So without further ado, let's head straight into the review. As said, we have finished watching Scrapper a couple of days ago. We have collected our thoughts and are now about to present them for no one else than you, the listener. And we can say that we overall enjoyed this film. It's a nice overall movie. However, the big problem being that we did not feel the feel-good vibes that the film promised. There were some great line deliveries and the young actors in this movie were great. For example, Lola Campbell, who plays Georgie, is fantastic. She basically carries this whole movie, if we want to say it like that. There are some cool spinning shots in this film, some cool art direction also, we need to mention that. And the writing and dialogue is pretty darn great. The story overall works, there are some stellar writing. And we can say that the story is basically that Georgie lives alone in a house in a London suburb after her mother died at a hospital and her dad is not present. And Georgie is doing a great job living alone, paying the rent for the house, for example, and getting food on her table. She's also doing a great job fooling the social services, but she is in deep grieving process of losing her mother. She has one close friend, which is Ali. Together they play outside, letting the days pass on, and do some not so great things, that is, for example, steal bikes for money and sell them for money. One day, however, a mysterious man appears in Georgie's backyard. This man turns out to be Georgie's previously not in her life present dad. He wants to reconnect with Georgie after hearing about his mother's death, or her mother's death, sorry. But Georgie and Ali are skeptical of him and his previous whereabouts. After a time with some rough family drama and doing some detective work on the assumed dad, Georgie has had a fight with Ali, but is getting closer to her dad. After some time bonding, they start to accept their respective fates and kind of start to like each other's company. Georgie then, with the help of her dad, accepts her mom's fate and probably ends the grieving process. And that she needs her father there is something that she realizes. They then start to get along and seem to live happily ever after. I would say this movie felt pretty natural. It was pretty basic story, no weird sci-fi elements or CGI. And the theme and message of the overall theme is a lot about loss, getting over loss and not being alone. It's a lot about the grief and the stages of grief and a lot about acceptance. So this movie is dealing with some really heavy themes and that is pretty visible throughout the story. However, I would say that this movie is sad, but it's not sad enough. It doesn't have any scenes that really made you tear up or feel really bad for the characters. When it comes to other aspects, just as the characters, we have, for example, the father, Jason, Georgie, and Ali. I think Georgie, played by Lola Campbell, is a really great actress. She does a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie. Ali is a nice companion character or side character. The father, Jason, is doing a great job, but he doesn't give any award-winning performance. That is not always necessary, but I think it's just an okay performance, basically. I did enjoy the movie, but I did not enjoy it overwhelmingly much. It has some great pacing, but I did really not feel the vibe. It has some great acting from both the young actors and actresses and the older ones. But the vibe was what was missing, the good vibes. I did not really feel them. It just felt like a grey, natural story. Basically, a rainy day shot through a really fancy camera or lens. So there is some great acting, but the story is a bit boring. It had its really but really powerful moments. And there are some moments as I love, really expressive acting that really makes you feel for the scene. The movie is also shot in some really interesting ways. They really have some really cool art direction with some clouds that are more cartoony and in one particular scene. And some scenes are also shot in a more documentary-like style when they interview certain characters about the main characters. So I would say the good vibes in this movie are hidden behind a foggy lens, basically. And I also need to wonder why the movie is titled Scrapper. I think I know, after watching the film, why it's titled Scrapper. It has something to do with the main character and her grieving process, basically. But you have to see for yourself if you want to know why the movie is titled Scrapper. There are some CG elements also in this film. Some smaller CG elements. I think they look okay. Not amazing, but they still look fine for this movie. And as I said, there are sad scenes in the film, but they are not sad enough. I really would have liked some more power to the sadder scenes. And it's really fun to hear this. This movie is basically British, I know. It's not a US movie, it's a British production, I think. So it's really fun to see some British characters in the film. Some authenticity to the story, basically. I really enjoy hearing some different dialects from different people, basically. And this movie, I would say, has a pretty happy ending. It's not the best ending, but I don't know what I could have done any differently, basically. So it's an okay ending. One question I have after this movie is the biggest question, is how could Georgie be left alone after her mother's passing? How could that happen? I know she fools the social securities or social services pretty darn great, but how could not anyone notice that her mother had a child that is left alone now? Isn't there any automatic paperwork for that? Isn't that seen in the systems at the hospital, basically? That's a big question I have after watching this movie. So I would really say this is a really calming film also. It's a really calming movie. And it's a great time watching it. But I am not gonna give it the best rating because I'm really missing these feel-good vibes. So I would rate it at 2.5 out of 5 stars. It has great acting from the younger actresses and actors, but the story is a bit boring. There were some great moments, but overall it feels like it's a foggy day shot through a fancy lens, basically. So that is gonna be a review for Scrapper. Have you seen the movie yet? Scrapper, the feature review by Charlotte Regan? If so, please let us know what you thought of the film. We'll be happy to hear from you on any of our socials or through mail. It will be so fun to hear what everyone else thought and rated the film. And we also need to say that you need to subscribe to this podcast, or you don't need to, but we encourage you to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of our future episodes, because we are dropping episodes multiple times a week, little bit here and there on many films. And we also have our ongoing Christmas special, meaning we will release a project with one Christmas movie or TV series at least once a week. So that is really fun. Be sure to stick out for that. And of course, if you want to, you could leave a review for this podcast as well. It helps us a lot to rank higher on the list and get more people to listen to this podcast. So that would be so kind of you if you did that. But without further ado, but until we see you guys the next time, have a great time watching.